Today I'm going to talk about setting organizational priorities. Um, it's something that's very important. Um, Next time I'll talk about, how do you communicate them and how do you keep teams on track. So for now, we'll talk about, what do you need to do to make sure you've set the right priorities. So the first thing I always say about these type of activities is setting priorities is a group activity. Similar to values and goals, as a leader, you want to bring people into the discussion. And part of that is, who are the leaders on your team, who are your directs, the key individual contributors. Make sure they're involved in this. Me personally, I like to do it in an off-site format where we're really focused on this activity. And it may be a series of activities we have, and this is just one of them, but this should be an important part of any organization is what are our priorities. And then the other thing I'd say is if you can, this is sometimes a little bit harder, work with the teams that are related. If you're building infrastructure that other teams are going to use, you should have those people in that conversation with you. Now, whether they're there in the room or whether you review with them after or before, I think that's really important. And part of this really is, it's just part, and I've talked about this before, but it's really part of a good leader is how do you bring people into the process? If you bring people into the process, that really helps to get buy-in. If people are there helping create these things, then those people usually buy in, or they're much easier to get to buy in. So really think it through, come up with the priorities, I think, in a group setting. The other thing that's probably just as important, because without this it doesn't work, is do your priorities align with your business goals? If your priorities aren't going to help you drive your business, your group, your organization forward, they're the wrong priorities. So think hard about, do these priorities help us? Do these priorities, another big thing, do they match your organizational values? If your priority is, making sure people are not overworked, think hard about that if that's your priority, make sure it's really a priority and you're not overworking people, or you're not asking too much of people that sort of go against the values or the goals. So think about that. Does the priorities match the goals? Do they match the values? Another thing I'm a big fan of, because I think values and goals usually should be long-term, priorities should be long-term. Priorities that are only going to last a month or 2 months or 3 months, part of me is like, what's the point? I mean, there can be some short-term goals and short-term priorities associated with them, but when we're talking about an organizational set of priorities, they really should be things that live and they stay with that. They're part of the culture, and I think that's the biggest thing as a leader. What is that culture? Priorities help us create that culture. So think through, what are my priorities? How are they going to drive my culture? Another thing I'll say is limit your priorities to 3 to 5. I'll never forget this. I joined a team at Microsoft, and they had 15 priorities. Needless to say, if you have 15 priorities, it's like having no priorities, because which of the 15 matter? It gets complicated, and that complexity causes issues. About a year into this 15 priority move, they replaced the leader with another leader, and he said, we have 5. And life became a lot easier for the teams down down in the org to be able to make decisions on this feature, that feature, this piece of work, that piece of work. Whatever it is, if I have a set of priorities that I know leadership is going to hold me accountable for, guess what? I'm going to hold me and my team accountable. So really think it through. And then please, make your priorities simple. I always say, if it's not one bullet line in your PowerPoint, it's probably too complex. And again, complexity when it comes to certain things like values and goals and priorities make it harder for the team to know what you want. If it's complex, this is the priority if the sky is purple today. Not going to help. So really think it through. Make it simple. The other thing to say is, think about resourcing. Again, If I have a priority of, and this is what I've seen sort of butchered at Microsoft, we care about engineering efficiency, but you haven't put any people on engineering efficiency, guess what? People are going to not believe the rest of your list of priorities. So think it through. If it's a priority, are you willing to put the resources on it? Are you willing to do what it takes to make that priority a reality? So those are the things I think about when I'm trying to create a set of priorities for my organizations. Again, we'll talk about other parts or other things related to priorities in a future date. So thanks everybody for listening, for watching, and go out there and show your leadership. Thanks.